So now I assume that you're all prepared and that you've got everything hooked to hotkeys and you got all the functions available. At least I hope so. So I would say let's go for the real thing. What we have done before is starting with the box, and we'll do the same again. Don't forget to switch off symmetry before you center your geometry, and then you switch symmetry back on. All right. We're gonna work for most of the time with the sub patches turned on, and for you I switch to wireframe shade in perspective viewport. So we're gonna model a head. Yes, I know it's very common. Most of the time heads get modeled, but this time it's to illustrate to you all the, the nice little modeling tricks. And the head has one of the beautiful things about modeling a head is a head has pretty much all the different type of, surface curvatures in there and all the kind of wacky, fine little details that are very, that are basically extending or explaining all of the things, all the modeling maneuvers you would have to do, even if you were modeling a body or a leg or a foot or some funny plant. It doesn't matter. So the modeling techniques are actually shown very nicely by modeling a head. So what we're going to do is we're using the extender to get some more geometry right away. And what we're doing right now in the beginning is anyway just generating new geometry, that's all, and we bring it into somewhat of a place where we might need it. So I'm starting in essence by creating the skull first, the head first, and let's go right to the to the neck area. So at first I'm preparing a general shape, almost like a silhouette if you wanted so. And to do that I would like to have a little bit of a neck already, and even a piece of the shoulders. So I'm going to extend down what would be the neck area, and then extend again to stretch out a little bit of a shoulder area. Zoom out a little bit more. There we've got some kind of shoulders. A little bit of that. Move a little bit back. There you go. And I use drag points to shape a little bit more of a rounder shoulder right there. And let's make some room for what would become a jaw. And I pick the polygons where I want the jaw to come out, extend it, stretch it, and there we've got some geometry for the jaw already. Go into the frontal viewport and do a bit of shaping. I look in the top view, and alright, now we've got some kind of a jawline. Pick the top of the head, stretch a bit, and we could just use this already to shape the top of the head as opposed to extending it one more time. And that's all. Also, when you do low-res geometry like that, you kind of want to make a good judgment when you want to extend something, when you want to add new geometry and when you don't. So what we also want to do right now is to get a nicer flow. Right now you can see how this is all, like this area is really ended by, it's like in a cul-de-sac, how they say. And we don't want that right now because we want a nice smooth head. So I'm going to spin quartz right above the jaw like that. So that way the jaw goes right into, like it makes a border around the facial area. So, all right, we've got a starting point. Just going to make the skull a little bit more. I'm going to take care a bit more of the volume of it, and shape a little bit around the back, just so we get a nicer shape to start with. All right. Okay, so we can jump right into it, and just let's make a nose where we want a nose. So we picked some polygons around it. I would never start with just one polygon, but just grab 2 polygons right away and extend them, stretch them smaller, bring them a bit forward, and then I grab some polygons for the nostril, for the nose tip and nostril. I'm going to stretch them so I can see them nicely. Extend, stretch, and bring them somewhat into a shape that we might like. All right. And although this is not exactly necessary right now, I could, for instance, do a spin quad. You can see then, how the topography would instantly become much more pleasant. And well, what we can do too is, out of experience, and you can imagine that too, we would want to use some more polygons for the eyes. So I'm going to actually extend the forehead to generate more geometry to play with. So it's really, at this point, truly just about generating material. It's like putting sort of lumps of clay on it in a way. And, bring him a bit more into position and bring him to where we want to add detail, for example. Like for instance, now we want to add eyes. So I think 3 polygons are quite decent for eyes. It's something we can use. So let's just extend those. And let's zoom in. Shift A in Lightwave. And just make the outline of your eye. And make it, imagine as if the eye was entirely open. So it's almost like just a, almost like a hole in the skin. And in the front view, it looks like it's already a decent shape. And side view is way the heck stretched. So we're gonna stretch that flat again like that. And you can almost start seeing that something's happening. And making them a bit larger because just, whenever we add the eyelids, which is what we're gonna do right now, it's gonna get smaller. This is the very outline, the outerest outline of the eye so far. So let's extend it again and stretch it a bit smaller. This time we just stretch it a little bit smaller because we're going to stay very close to that outline. I'm going to make the upper eyelid come a bit forward and the lower eyelid a little bit to come forward. Or at least what is going to become the lower eyelid. And I'm going to watch out that the angles of the eye are a little bit behind the border, the outline of the eye. Same with the angle to the inside of the eye, diagonal, like so. Alright, a little bit of reshaping and a perspective viewport. And then I'm gonna extend it again and stretch it smaller and a little bit back. See, I do that in the side view. And now in the front view I do the same, a bit smaller. And I extend it again and stretch it all the way back into the head. A little bit wider, and in the top view I'm rotating it. And we're going to keep these polygons, don't delete them. They are very good, they're good for you. So, now we've got something that doesn't look too much like eyelids yet, but we're going to change that right now. We're going to go around the eyelids, just take the top part of it, and extend it. Stretch it. I'm now here in the side view, as you can see. Just follow my mouse pointer, you'll see. Drag points to bring them somewhat into place. There. And at any point in time you can start, thinking about the anatomy already. And things I've observed about the way the skin is above an eyelid that I always have in mind when I do this type of modeling. And I'll show them to you as we progress a little bit more. So now we've got already some kind of a little fold here, but it's way too deep. So let's go straight into that here. I use stretch and do it like that. So now we've got a nice little fold already. And also I don't like that kink here. When you look at it in the perspective viewport, you can see how the wires kink. It doesn't have to be like that just yet, because we're not too much in the design of it. It's at this point just preparing the geometry. So also I don't like how this all looks at this point right now. So I'll see if I address that now or later. Let's see, let's spin quads already right now. Let's see if that is something we might want to have. But it's pretty early to make a lot of judgment there. So I would say let's move first to some other place. So sometimes, you know, especially in the beginning, you don't want to waste too much time on details. It's just about preparing it. So let's say we want to have some cheeks. So I take the cheek area, extend it, stretch it smaller. Now we see pretty nicely where this is. You know, it's rather clean, of course. I'm going to pick the surrounding polygons, the new one and the previously existing ones, and spin quads, so that way you can see how that edge flows much nicer through and how it abruptly ends here. Now we haven't dealt with that area yet, so we don't have to worry too much about how it extends further, but we will very soon. So, okay, let's deal with that section right now, because while I'm modeling, I like to enjoy looking at my model. I go crazy if I don't like what I'm looking at, even at this early point of view. So I take the worst places and already deal with them. So I extend that area, stretch it smaller, go to frontal view and, you know, stretch it a bit more slim, and I'm starting to deal with the topography right away. Those spin quads, just so it gets a nice flow. You can see how it grows like that. And I know that I have already some redundancy over here. I'm going to get rid of that. See, I spun quads and now I have all these redundant geometry, these polygons, and I just merge them. So gone they are. Now it's much more clean. So very often it happens that you create new polygons that you will eliminate again. And it's also perfectly okay to make mistakes, so to say. That's just part of the process. So you know, every move doesn't have to be perfect. There's a lot of experimentation. Yeah, you'll see. So yeah, now we can go into that area that has developed thanks to our extension of the nose, the sides of the nose bridge. And we rotate it around, and there we got a much more fluent, you know, topography. So let's zoom back out again. Okie dokie. And even although this is very early, I'm going ahead and I'm going to do some larger modifications by using, for instance, the pole tool, the pole 2 tool, and I'm going to stretch the eyes a bit smaller and bring them further forward, like so. Ta-da! And yeah, let's move on to the mouth area. And just take this entire area and extend it. And first I'm going to shape it. That's the other thing, you kind of want to shape the area first before you extend it or extrude it. Because after that, you're just going to move around the new polygons. And you know, it just comes in more handy that way. Stretch. And let's see what we can change. Like for instance, right now I see that since there's, you know, such a strange, you know, if you look at that shape, that would never really make some decent lips. Or at least it makes a very complicated outline. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spin these quads around like that. See if it's something I like. Might want to keep it. Why not? And then I take these polygons, super shift them again, make them a bit smaller, and see if I shape the outline of the lips with those. From the side I stretch it a bit more flat. You know, you always want to stay in control of your geometry. You always want to know where it is from all these sides. I mean, from the top view not so much. But from the front view and the side view you get a really nice idea. Alright, that would become a very small mouth, so I'm going to make it a bit larger right now. Like so, bring it a bit upward, and I extend it again, stretch it smaller, and pull it back inside, extend it again, and I create the gum area, like that, stretching it larger again. You want them also to stay somewhat homogeneous in size, And in the top view now you can see that it's still convex. Now I use rotate to make it concave, like so. That's much nicer. Drag points, just overall to make it more like the inside the cave, the hollow section of a mouth. I mean, you could, if you wanted to be really, diligent, you could make another extension in there to get a much more, evolved shape inside. But it's not really necessary, actually, never, hardly ever. At least not right now, for sure not. So let's take care of the lips right away. So there are a whole bunch of observations about lips, and one of which is that the upper lip usually goes over the lower lip. So because of that, I'm right now gonna make the lower lip first, and then I will make the upper lip. And for that I first prepare, the outline of the lower lip there. Doesn't look like much over here. And then I extend it, stretch it by grabbing outside of it. As you can see, I grabbed it outside of it and stretch it like that. Stretch it from the front a little bit. And then maybe even rotate. In the top view I can see that. And then drag points so that it gets more smoothly back into the former polygons, into the surrounding polygons. So it's somewhat of a round lip, kind of lipish. And now you're going to grab the upper lip, and I want to see more of the outline facing forward. Kind of like that. It's okay. You can see how it makes that arc here. I'm looking at the the perforated cage of that geometry right now. Like that. I'm looking at that outline, because the subdivided cage doesn't quite show as much of what's going to happen now when I extend it. See, when I extend it, pop, it shows more the outline of the non-subdivided geometry. So this looks like a very dangerous lip. And what we're going to do right now is the upper lip usually has this kind of distinct curling where the middle part almost kind of like it faces forward, but towards the angle of the mouth, towards the side of the mouth, it curls inward. And so I'm going to regard that right away. So we're going to take care of that right away. So now, for instance, if I were to do extend selection, as you can see, it would really go straight to the surrounding polygons. And we can use those right now to drag some points around, like so. Okie dokie. Now we can see a whole bunch of things that are not very pretty, and we're going to take care of them right away. Like one of which, for instance, is this entire construction here on the side. All these edges come towards this one vertex, this poor vertex here, and we have to kind of relieve it a little bit, So spin quads, and it already is a little bit more relaxed. And let's go right into the inside of the angle and spin quads over here to continue that curling of the upper lip towards the inside of the mouth. So, okay. Oh, it starts to look a little bit healthier, Not too healthy yet, but it'll come. So, a bit of drag points just to get a bit of nicer shape. And let's move around a little bit more, and let's take care of the area around the mouth. Do some spin quads. And I'm opening space, which I will use to add geometry to the center of the nose and to the center of the upper eyelid. I'm also going to curl the inside of the mouth a little bit, further in, so that it's really like you can see it from that view a little bit. See that it goes to the inside of the mouth there. Give it a bit more room. And I'm going to use all of these polygons right now, extend them, and in the front view, stretch them slim again. Side view, bring them back out. And now you can see I'm relaxing the whole geometry a little bit and bring them into shape. So we've got this, fine little nipple in the lip already. Okay, So let's add some nostrils real quick. Pick these 2 polygons. So I know we're gonna use them. Extend them. Stretch. Stretch. Alright, and we have some geometry here now. And just for like they say, shits and giggles, I'm gonna change the topography here for a second, but it's really not necessary. I'm gonna take care of that in a moment. So right now what we're gonna take care of is the nose tip, because it's really absolutely frightening right now. So I'm just gonna stretch it a bit slimmer and see that I shape it already a tiny little bit. You can see that this area is still absolutely horrifying. So with drag points, I'm just, you know, freeing it a little bit. And this entire construction here seems very, like, it's not elegant yet. You see how this line goes up here and breaks? This is not pretty. We have 2 possibilities of dealing with that. One is, you know, to just, you know, get rid of a polygon and do it like that, but that would be ugly. Another break would happen. It's not pretty. So let's not do it like this, but instead, let's pick these upper polygons here, these 2, and spin quads over here, and you can see how already that line leads to above the nose, which is already kind of interesting, even if by far not perfect. But it's better. What we want to do too is now we want to define the nose a little bit better, and we can also see that there's this break and this star, so let's address that right away by spinning that quad, and it already starts to become a little bit more pleasant to look at, piece by piece. And then sometimes I do just experimental things. We've just changed that to, you know, that edge to flow just like it does right now. But for experimental reasons, I'm just going to spin it again. And look at that. Actually turned out pretty nice. So let's add some nostrils, with like some, you know, some way to the inside of the head. And we just pick these polygons where they're supposed to become whole. Extend them, stretch them a little bit, extend them again, move them inside a little bit, and extend it and move it inside, oopsie, and move it inside again, and stretch it a bit smaller. This is going to be the whole. And you don't want to see all that way up the nose, and usually light doesn't quite get there. Alrighty, so what do we have? Some strange kind of, I don't know what. So the eyes are way too high up in the head. We want to get them somewhat into the center of the head. And let's just first address that by either selecting them, whereby you could use extend selection to, you know, you would, for instance, just grab the inside of that eye and then just hit extend selection. And that way you really can nicely select all of the polygons of the eye. And you could move that. You know, that's one way of doing it. Or we can use one of our fancy, you know, fall-off tools. Like, for instance, the vortex tool. That comes in very handy in situations like that. And again, the mouse pointer is our pivot. So it's, you know, practical. Alright. Let's do some more shaping first, because I still want to like what I'm looking at, and so far it's a bit challenging. So let's see. That entire area here is total chaos at this, like currently. We can do, just because I see that this might be a nice opportunity, that beautiful collapse polygon trick. Select these 3 polygons, for instance, in that case, extend, and collapse. And now we merge the triangles together into quads again, and that might make this area already a bit more interesting to look at. And here, just spin quad, and then we've got a much nicer flow already. So, alright. So that entire area over here still shows, that's a nice, like such a star is a nice indication that something is not really desirable at that point. So we're gonna go there, spin quads, and see what we can salvage over here. What we can change. And I'm not too fond of what's going on up here either, so I'm going to spin quads, merge these two polygons together. They weren't triangles actually. I'm going to spin quads here, and see how the geometry gets reduced again dramatically. So we have gotten rid of quite a few polygons with these few moves. And it's a really nice way to clean up your mesh. Well, if we were going for displacement, we'd almost be all set already with the amount of geometry, almost. Kind of disregarding the animation possibilities. But yeah, I'm just gonna shape the eye a little bit nicer. Sure. And yeah, let's have a look at... It's still very, very low res, as you can see already. And the head sits in that in a very strange way. So I'm gonna pick the entire head right now, like that. I'm just gonna move it around and see if I can get a nicer position, so it's again nicer to look at. Currently this is nothing yet. Nothing yet. So let's see. Alright. So yeah, select these polygons just to see what's happening here. And then just change it around a bit. Shaping. So there's a very weak jaw, but we haven't dealt with the jaw much yet. So let's make some room for a nice new chin. For that matter, I might just pick all of those. It's a little bit naughty, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Extend it and make it a chin. Go to the front view and stretch it, see, and it instantly becomes more defined. Bring it into place, like so. And then let's see what we can change in the topography right away. Spin quads. But I don't quite like that much yet. Because it doesn't... I like it if the topography suggests more of an actual anatomy. So let's spin a little bit the edges around just to get a bit nicer anatomy feel to it. So it becomes more interesting already. Of course the noses is still an absolute horror right now. So we should deal with that too. He's got quite a picky nose at this point, so let's make it a bit sharper. Drag points. Just drag some stuff around so we get more of a desirable design. I mean, this is still very, very low res, but nothing to be too worried about. And I'm just relaxing the geometry right now more than anything. And sometimes I just use this time to kind of, you know, study, think, and you know, just to relax for a moment. I want to make this a bit more flat, a bit farther out. Let's make it completely a him. Give him a really strong jaw. So just select this area and extend it again. Stretch it from in the front, like out to the side like that. You can see how it becomes already extraordinarily more pronounced. And to get a nicer flow here, I spin quads. Okay, that looks somewhat interesting. It could become something. Let's spin quads here again. Alright, that looks almost too fluent. Alright. But again, I mean, if we were to deal with displacement, this is the kind of detail you kind of want to take care of, you know, working with ZBrush or whatever you use for generating your displacement maps. Alright. Okie dokie. Let's look at the smooth shade of it, because it will reveal a lot more what we're actually looking at already. So, looks like we've got a pretty huge head and very small rest of the torso right now. So, Just because I want to, I'm just going to scale down the head a little bit. Because I have symmetry turned on, I'm just going to grab it somewhat in the center and then scale it down, like so. Move it a bit forward. And then I'm going to grab whatever would be the throat area and move it a bit back. And it already starts to look a bit more healthy. Let's look at the wireframe again. Wireframe is already quite dense, I must say. But we can work with it. So let's look at a possible area for a muscle. And this is a more wacky maneuver, but very interesting. So let's assume we want to have a muscle that goes from behind the ear, towards the, front of the chest. So I'm going to grab all these polygons which are around that possible muscle, for example. Just preparing the outline a little bit of it. Look at the side view, you can see somewhat where these polygons are. When in doubt, what you can do, for instance, also just turn off the sub-patches for that. If you are working with Lightwave. Anyway, turn it back on. And what we're going to do is we're going to extend that. And in the perspective view, rotate it so that I can stretch that smaller in one vertical, orientation, and a little bit horizontally, and then I move it so that I can make it flat in somewhat of that diagonal angle from behind the ear towards the front of the chest. Alright, and what we're gonna do now is the most wacky of all things, a lot of spin quads that would make out of this wacky construction a clear band of polygons. Doing that, so I grab these two polygons, for example. I'm gonna grab these, and we're almost there. This here looks like something we really do not want. So let's see how we get rid of that best. We could do that in many different ways. Like right now, for instance, the most hardcore way is take these two polygons and, there we've got one way of making one band of polygons here. But then we have this remainder to deal with. Also no problem, just spin quads. And there you go. It's almost gone. Do that again. And there we have something to work with. Or we can do it like that, that's fine. So we've got somewhat of a nice line. And that would be very good for, it's preparing for animation. Let's take care of the Adam's apple. Take that area, extend it, stretch it smaller. See, I did it first in the side view, then in the front view. And I really know it's smaller. Well, let's give it a bit of a shape. I want it to tuck in down here a little bit, so I move it really underneath the previous points, the surrounding points. But here I put it a bit out, just so we have a bit more of a manly Adam's apple. And I'm gonna go to these, polygons to the surrounding of that here, and spin quads again. And you can see how it gives an interesting definition. So what you don't want, for instance, like look at this right now. See how they stretch? This is very unorganic. This is very not pretty. So there are several ways of dealing with that. And what I do is the usual. I take those polygons that stretch so much, I extend them, and then I stretch them smaller. So, and then I spin quads to the surrounding like so. And not only do we have those stretched polygons solved, but we also have some new stuff to do some more, to get some more shape into it, which can be very nice. Looks a little bit like he did get a facelift recently. May not exactly want that, but well, it's something. So, yeah, okie dokie. Let's look at it in smooth shade again. Again, gives us a much nicer, look at the geometry altogether. Oh, you see here that stuff, and when I see something like that strange pinched line, I don't like it, and I really address it right away. It's a compulsion, I guess. So I grab, for instance, these polygons at the back of the neck. I could, try to find some kind of, nice way of just making a bit, or would almost do it. But we want some muscles there anyway. So I'm gonna grab these two polygons, extend them, stretch them smaller, use the perspective again to stretch them in a way that instantly makes it more like I want it. In that case, bulgy a bit more. And let's see how we can change the way it connects to the head. Just like that. Maybe already interesting enough. I don't know fully yet. And let's see. Okay. See, when I see an area that I don't like for instance over here, and you see the strange bulge, I'm just going to select that area for a second and look at what's happening here. Look at the topography for a moment. And then I'm going to change things around a little bit and do, for instance, a spin quad and see if that makes it nicer. And it makes it more interesting already. We know that the shoulders, for instance, they are not finished. I mean, it's just a preliminary type of solution. And so it's not too troublesome if something happens way out of here. And right now we don't want to take too much care of the body because there's no body yet. Just gonna do a little bit of, modeling around a little bit, just to make it nicer, more interesting. Let's give him a tiny bit of a more evolved shoulder. It's kind of neat. Yeah. So we could do this fancy, strange alien thingy. It's funny, but we don't have to. Oopsie, there. Yeah. He has his shoulders raised rather high. Just take that area, stretch it like that, a little bit down. And we've got something a bit more interesting to look at already. And let's see if we can get a collarbone in there a little bitty. I'm actually gonna take these polygons all together, extend them, stretch them. See, it's always the same, extending, stretching. It's really just the same move all the time. And trust me, it doesn't get boring. It does not get boring. It's modeling. Extend that to get a little bit of a visible bone almost. Oh, let's switch back to wireframe so you can see more what's happening. And I can see it too. Switch spin quads, but if we can, we should try to actually get the shape of the collarbone into the topography. That's a very good idea to do that, Let's see how we want to get it in there. See, for instance, here it looks to me like something's funny. For instance, that star is again an indication we should change something around that area. So I'm going to spin these quads right here. And we've got a much nicer flow of that, muscle back into the chest there. Although this ending I don't exactly like. Let's see if we can just change it like that. And then not only does it become smoother, but it will also help us with that collarbone a little bit. So, and this area here I'm not too keen of either. So let's see what we can change here. So I move, give a little bit more room to see if I can switch that edge around. Zoom out a tiny little bit. And yeah, see, sometimes it's just a whole bunch of switching things around. Oh, let's see what's nicer here, because there might be at the end of the muscle that could actually be kind of interesting. Well, let's see. Let's turn on the smooth shade, and well, we got a hugely exaggerated, strange shape here. I mean, it's kind of silly because really, I mean, especially things like collarbone and this kind of stuff, you really want to rather do with displacement than trying to model that into your character. There are plenty of reasons for why you should do that instead. The other thing I don't like is this. You can see even in the smooth shaded display that they develop a very bizarre stretching over here. So let's do something. What I'm going to do is, although I have 3 polygons picked, if I spin quads, you can see how the connection changes, and I got the ability to spin those into an entirely new order. I really figured you didn't want to hear me coughing. So I paused it for a sec, so no worries. No voodoo stuff happened in the meantime. I've changed it, but now we've lost a bit of the definition of that bone. And to get that back, it might be possible that we simply just, bring these points of the surrounding polygons a bit closer. Can't see it in wireframe shade. See, it's not possible to really see it. You can kind of guess, but you can't exactly see it. And so let's switch back to smooth shade. We can see a little bit better what's going on there. Right now the collarbone looks like it would be way too flat. It should go much farther back. So I could either try this, which is totally hideous, of course. The other thing we can try is, instead of moving those back, we're just going to fold them around and see what happens. So that could be all we need to get an interesting shape. I'm just going to move all this a little bit back. And let's see. It's just a little bit of spoiler at the bottom of this head. Not too important right now. Oh, yeah, but I often can't let things go like that. I mean, I at least want them to be somewhat decent. And because of that, I'm just gonna do a little bit more of dragging points around, and just so it looks a bit more neat. Okie dokie. So, whoa, let's rotate this out a little bit. So, there we go. Nice enough. Yeah, that somehow it looks a little bit too far back. Okie dokie. So, well, all of this stuff here is not really important right now. Let's go back to the head itself, because it doesn't have ears yet, and it doesn't quite have a forehead yet. I mean, this stuff is very underdeveloped at this point. So, I'm a little bit afraid that I have to interrupt that recording for a second, just before it gets too big, and then my poor machine might fail. We don't want that. So I'm gonna save right now. In fact, in a second. There we go. So right now I'm gonna interrupt this and save it, and we'll move on to more details of the modeling. Actually, can't let that slide here. Yeah, well, doesn't quite matter really. Not right now, at least. Let me do this real quick, just because I can't resist. So, if you want some more distinction here, some more definition, I grab these polygons, extend them. You can see how they crossed over here. I didn't see that in that view. Here I can see it. So now I go into the top view and then just make them, split them apart again. And so now we get much nicer definition. That a bit more. Yeah, those tenons, they are a bit more straight usually. And also here, spin quads. Those are all, I mean, a lot of it is just design, a question of design and aesthetics and what you like and what you actually want to create. But the method is clear, you see you want to add a different type of detail. And then you just go there and you just do a extend. It's really strangely strong, but whatever. It's not really the key thing to be concerned with right now. Yeah, so yeah, look at the topography, and just always make these tiny changes. Like, you know, here, if I really don't need something, or if something really bothers me visibly, you know, it's like then I'm just gonna go ahead and change it. These things, they have a tendency to change during the course of your modeling. Ta-da-ta-ta-da. Well, strange. Yeah, there's a funny kink here. I should save now, shouldn't I? Yeah, I should certainly save. But it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I can't. I mean, it's impossible. It's like it's really like a compulsion. If I'm seeing something, I kind of have to do it. There we go. All right. It's fine. So let me save this real quick, and we'll proceed in a second.